Hey guys, CommonSensei here, and welcome back to another episode of the I'm Just Sayin video podcast, where I serve as your tour guide through this minefield of liberal idiocy, ridiculousness, and stupidity. It's been a little over a month since my last post. I promised you guys I would be a little bit more consistent with my content. Been a very busy month. I'll try to catch up and drop some more content here in the relatively near future. We're going to talk about a couple of different things, primarily. We're going to talk about the state of our republic. We're going to talk a little bit about the Virginia governor's race that's coming up on November 2nd. And then we're also going to go into a Biden montage, which I think you're really going to enjoy. But before we get started, make sure you warm up that Black Rifle coffee. And let's get started. Okay, so from the category of I never thought this would actually happen comes the state of our republic. Now, the United States has served as a beacon of freedom for over 246 years. This is the one place where capitalism, freedom, and a constitutional republic has been tried, experimented, and succeeded. This has never been done anywhere. Yet, from within, it's being ripped apart at the seams. The Russians during the Cold War, the Soviet Union said that they wouldn't have to invade America. They wouldn't have to have a war with America because we would destroy ourselves from within. And who would have thought that would ever be possible? Certainly President Reagan didn't think so. Hell, even President Clinton didn't think so. But let me ask you something. In fact, let me ask you a question. Forget about President Trump for a moment. Whether you like President Trump or whether you don't is immaterial to this conversation. What is material to this conversation is the ridiculous disaster that is the Biden administration. Okay? I don't care on what side of the fence you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. I don't care about that. I want you to ask yourself a question. Are you better off now? Is your family better off now? Is your neighbor better off now than you were a year ago? Are you paying more for gas? Yeah, pretty much double. Are you paying more for groceries? Yes. Are you paying more? Is the dollar worth as much as it was a year ago? No. We haven't seen inflation like this since the Jimmy Carter administration. And in my lifetime, to be quite honest with you, I never thought that I would see a president as bad as Jimmy Carter. I never thought that I would see somebody worse than Jimmy Carter. Enter Joe Biden. This guy is an absolute disaster. Look at the supply chain right now. We can't get products into the United States. And one of the reasons we have such a shortage of these products in the United States is because there is a ass ton of ships off the coast of California trying to get into port so that truckers can pick this stuff up. Now, here's the problem. One of the issues is the state of California has put forth saying, hey, if you're a trucker, you can't come in here and pick up cargo and take it somewhere else unless you're a business with more than 100 people, and they all have to be vaccinated. So if you're an over-the-road trucker, you're somebody that is trying to make a living, you own your own business, guess what? If you don't have 100 people that are employed in your company, they won't let you pick up there. Why is that? Why would we even do that? Why would California do that? Why would Gavin Newsom of California do that? You know, the funny thing about it is that he was recently recalled and they had a new election to see if they were going to replace him. California hated him, couldn't stand him. All these lockdowns, taxes are high. People are leaving by the hundreds of thousands to go to Texas, Utah, Arizona, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Montana, so on and so forth, Florida. And what did they do? They kept him in office. I don't understand it. The trucking industry and the cargo industry is what keeps the American economy going. It is the heartbeat of what we are as a capitalistic society. It just so happens that in California, now they're saying if you don't move your ships or you don't offload, we're going to start charging you $100 per cargo container per day. Now, just so you know, there's hundreds and hundreds of cargo containers on a cargo ship. It's a ridiculous amount of money. So essentially what they're doing is they're not letting them come in and drop off their cargo, but then they're going to excise a tax or a fine for not dropping off their cargo. Really? Yes, really. Okay. That being the case, the supply chain's not the only problem, right? We've got a spending problem. We don't have a tax problem as far as an income to the federal government, right? The federal government gets plenty of money and probably gets too much money. What we have is a spending problem. And the Biden administration now wants to spend anywhere from $2.5 to $3.6 trillion on a green package and building back better. Building back better. Now here's the thing. The Biden administration has told us, Jen Psaki has said that it's not going to cost us anything. The taxpayers aren't going to pay a dime. Really? How the hell do you get $2.5 trillion plus without taxing people? I know what they're going to say. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to tax major corporations. Well, guess what? If you think that taxing the rich and taxing major corporations is going to come up with $2.5 trillion, then you might want to check the economic textbook that's collecting dust on your shelf. Not going to happen, all right? I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. They tell you they're not going to tax you. They're going to tax you. I'm going to get taxed. You're going to get taxed. Your family's going to get taxed. Your neighbors are going to get taxed. He's going to get taxed. She's going to get taxed. We're all going to get taxed, okay? And there's not going to be shit that we can do about it. If this passes, there are things in this bill that will make us a communist type economy, a socialistic type of economy, and a Marxist type of society. You need to educate yourself on this bill. You need to reach out to your congressmen, your senators, and you need to tell them to vote this bill down. Senator Manchin, a moderate, I think everybody knew that he was going to cave and vote with the Democrats, right? Supposedly a moderate Democrat. There's no such thing anymore. That ship has sailed. It's gone, okay? It's full of leftists. The leftists run the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, it's true. You may not like to hear it, but it's true. I'm just saying. Groceries are up. Crime is up. And in fact, it's kind of funny. Crime is up in every major city, including Minneapolis. And oddly enough, in Minneapolis, who's one of the Congress people from Minnesota? Oh, that's right. It's Ilhan Omar, who said that the whole reason, or at least one of the two major reasons, that crime is up in Minnesota, particularly in Minneapolis, is because cops aren't doing their job. This is the same Ilhan Omar that wanted to defund the police. Then she got her wish. Then a bunch of cops quit. And then guess what happened? Now, apparently, it's the police officers' fault because they're not upholding their oath to their office. Come on. Really? Foreign policy is an absolute just landslide. It's just, look, China laughing at us. North Korea laughing at us. Iran laughing at us. The Russians laughing at us. China and the Russians are both testing hypersonic missiles now. No, this is a test of American will. This is a test of whether or not we will allow and whether or not we will tolerate countries like China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea to run amok. And this administration is doing zero. Zero. The border is a disaster. Absolute disaster. Where's Kamala Harris on this? Where is she? She's going to Europe. She's going all over the United States. But she's not taking care of the border. You know, in this year alone, in this fiscal year alone, we're going to have over 2 million illegal immigrants cross the border. Over 2 million. And those are just the ones we know about. There's a vaccine mandate in the military. Active duty has to be vaccinated by December, and then the reserves have to be vaccinated shortly after that. If you refuse the COVID-19 vaccine, you will be processed out of the military with an other than honorable discharge. Now, it's important to understand what an OTH, or an other than honorable discharge, is. As somebody that served over 20 years and retired from the military, I can certainly tell you that an OTH is not a discharge that you want to get. It's usually reserved for acts of violence. It's usually reserved for failing a drug test. It's usually reserved for disciplinary issues. And those people are processed out, and they miss out on a lot of veteran benefits because of their actions. Okay. Now, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to get forced out of the military because they don't want to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Look, I don't care whether you're pro-vaccine or not. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, okay? In fact, in the military, you can't really be an anti-vaxxer because there is a slew of vaccines that you are required to get. Measles, mumps, rubella, polio, the flu shot every friggin' year. You got to get typhoid every other year. You have to get the anthrax vaccine, yellow fever, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Here's the issue that I have with it, okay? I'm not anti-vaccine. If you want to get the vaccine, get it. Get it. Nobody's going to judge you whether you do, but I'm certainly not going to judge you if you don't want to get the vaccine. Constitutionally, I don't believe that mandating a vaccine, or an experimental vaccine rather, is right. It's not right. You're subjecting your body to things that we don't know about. Give it time, get the vaccine right, and then if you want to roll it out and mandate it in the military, fine, mandate it in the military. But at the end of the day, you're giving somebody a less than honorable discharge because they don't want to subject themselves to an experimental medical treatment that, number one, does not build complete immunity. It doesn't. Okay? Now, if it did, there'd be no reason for vaccinated people to wear masks. Is a mask more effective than a vaccine? Probably not. But if it is as effective or more effective than a vaccine, it's not really a vaccine. At least not one that works. So why mandate it? Now, look, I'm not saying whether or not you should get vaccinated. That's a choice that you should make. But that's the key point here. It's a choice of what you should do with your body. And it's your choice. It's funny that liberals are all about my body, my choice, until it's not my body, my choice, because they want to tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and why to do it. So you can't have it both ways. It's either my body, my choice, or it's not my body, my choice. And I'm not going to get into the whole abortion issue, okay? That has nothing to do with this. But the point that I'm trying to make here is we have a vaccine that is not truly approved as a vaccine, but we're mandating people to get it, even though it has mass amounts of side effects, and we're not exactly sure what the long-term effects for those are. I'm just saying. Okay, on to something else. So earlier this week, I sent out a tweet, and you can check me out at Twitter, or on Twitter, at T, that's capital T, CommonSensei, all one word, at T CommonSensei. On Twitter. I'm also on Facebook, as most of you already know. All right, so I sent out a tweet in which I said, if you are from Virginia or you know somebody who lives in Virginia, it's time to get involved, if you haven't already done so, in the governor's race, in the gubernatorial race in the state of Virginia. Now, you have the incumbent, who's a Democrat. That's Terry McAuliffe. Hardcore leftist, hardcore liberal. And he's running against a Republican challenger, and that challenger's name is Glenn Youngkin. Now, here's the great thing about Glenn Youngkin. He is not mixing words here. He is telling people exactly who he is. He's telling people exactly what he wants to do. He wants to ban critical race theory in the schools. He wants to accelerate math programs. He wants to up education standards, which does nothing but improve everybody who's involved. Every child, every teenager, everybody who is involved in the education system, who is trying to learn and better themselves, will improve under Youngkin. Now let's talk about Terry McAuliffe for a second. Terry McAuliffe had an over 20-point lead at one point. It's now in a dead heat. You're looking at seriously a 4% margin of error, and they're both at about 0.2% of each other. Okay, so it's very, very, very close. Virginia, which used to be a red state, is now a blue state. So very, very important here. This can affect the rest of the country. All right, and this is why. I'm going to explain why. This is a testing battleground right now, because if Virginia can become a battleground state in 2022 during the congressional elections, and then also in 2024, and this is going to be the telltale sign, because if McAuliffe does not get reelected, it is just a sign of absolute disarray within the Democratic Party. Now, here's the thing about McAuliffe. Hardcore liberal. This is the guy who absolutely says that CRT, critical race theory, is more important than the subjects of math, and English, and science in the classroom. You heard that right. That CRT is more important than children learning math, English, and science. In other words, it doesn't really matter what they know when they get out of school, just as long as they know that racism is the number one issue in this country. I'm not going to argue whether racism is an issue or it's not. Of course it's an issue. But is CRT more important than math, English, and science? I don't think so. And in a show of desperation, he had two people recently come out and campaign for him. Okay. Today, it was President Joe Biden. We'll get to that in a second. A couple of days ago, you had the Vice President, Kamala Harris, go out there and help campaign for Terry McAuliffe. Now, she's got time to go to Europe. She's got time to go all over the United States. She's got time to go into classrooms and talk to kids about CRT and talk to, I don't know if anybody saw that cringe-worthy video of her talking to a bunch of kids about astronauts, okay? It was absolutely cringe-worthy. Come to find out, guess what? The kids in there were child actors. Yeah. 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 Here's an idea. Hey, Kamala, go to the freaking border and do something. Do something to better this country. Do something to heighten our security. Do something to protect the citizens of the United States instead of flooding people with future voters that basically you're going to give amnesty to. I digress. Okay, so Sloppy Joe ends up going to Virginia. Now, here's the thing. Since June, Sloppy Joe's approval rating has dipped 21 points. That's right, 2-1, 21 points since June. His rating is now in the mid-30 percentile, okay? Mid-30 percentile. Now, I don't know about you. If I'm running for an office, I don't care where it's at. Okay, it could be Timbuktu, it could be Dallas, it could be Salt Lake City, it could be Atlanta. I don't care where I'm at. The last person in the world that I would have come and speak on my behalf is a guy with a mid-30 percentage approval rating. That's just dumb. You're asking a guy who can't speak, a guy who just mumbles and bumbles and stumbles to speak on your behalf. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to up your chances? Do you think it's going to make things better? I don't think so. It's not going to make anything better for you. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad he's doing it because I want McAuliffe to lose, because he's an absolute moron. He's a dipshit beyond comparison to any other dipshit. Well, okay, that's not true. because we are talking about Sloppy Joe here. But the point that I'm making is this. Bring them. Bring them. Bring Nancy Pelosi while you're at it before the November 2nd election. Bring, Chuck Schumer. Bring Adam Schiff. Bring the squad. Bring AOC. Bring Omar Tlaib. Bring them all. Bring them all. Because the more you involve these leftists and the more you tell people that their children aren't important enough to learn math, English, and science, that their kids aren't important enough, that CRT is more important than their future, then the less chance you're going to have of getting reelected. So I'm all about it. Bring them. And speaking of CRT, and speaking of math, science, the Justice Department recently said that parents who are questioning CRT, parents who are questioning school boards, parents who are showing up these school board meetings and demanding that their kids stop being indoctrinated, all of a sudden, those parents are domestic terrorists. They're radicals. They are an enemy of the state. Now, here's the thing. I don't know about you, but last I knew, a radical was somebody that was trying to blow people up, running people down, maybe shooting up a bunch of people. Certainly not a parent that is there for the welfare and the betterment of their child. This is how the left works. This is how Marxism works, ladies and gentlemen. Marxism works by beating down people that question authority, by beating down people that don't go along with the narrative. And that's exactly what the Justice Department did and Attorney General Merrick Garland did when they came out with a letter to the FBI, and when they came out with a letter saying that parents that question CRT and that argue in front of leftist school boards are domestic terrorists, radicals. That's what they're calling you. When you stand up for the education and the advancement and betterment of your child's future, now all of a sudden you're a radical. This is where we've gotten to. This is where we're at. So if you're in Virginia, or if you know somebody that's in Virginia, it is absolutely essential that you get involved, you get out there, and you have people vote this down. This is a tipping point. This is a testing ground for what is going to happen with all these other races. What is going to happen with all these congressional races, with all these governor's races, with all these races that are coming up, school board elections, all these different elections, these races that are going on right now. You need to get involved, not just in Virginia, but all over the country, all over the nation, because these school boards that are shutting parents out and telling them that they have no say-so in what their kids are learning in the classroom, that's tyranny. That is tyranny. This is the government that the forefathers warned us about. You better believe that. And there's only one way that we can fix it. And that way is to get involved. Now, I keep telling you that 2022 is right around the corner, and it is. But I'm telling you right now, it's not just Congress. It's not just the congressional races or the Senate races. It's not just, the House races or the Senate races. It's not just the presidential election in 2024, and it's not just the gubernatorial races in each state. You have to get involved at the city level, you have to get involved at the county level, and you have to get involved particularly with school board elections, city councils, county commissions. You have to understand that this goes all the way down from the federal government, all the way down to the state, all the way down to the counties, all the way down to the cities, the school boards. When people are teaching your children that either they're oppressed because they're not white or they're an oppressor because they are white, how does that bring us closer together? How does that bring the United States closer together? It doesn't. It tears us further apart. Wake up, America. We're being divided. Because united we will stand, but divided we will fall. We've talked about this before. Do not think for 1 second that this country cannot be torn apart, because it's happening little by little by little. The Constitution is being shredded little by little by little. It's what Mark Levin called as a soft tyranny. It's not an immediate takeover. It's not an immediate seizure of your rights. It's a little bit here, and a little bit there, and a little bit there. But before you know it, you're going to look over your shoulder, and we're going to realize, where did our freedom go? It's not too late. Long live the Republic. Stand up for what you believe in. Say no to CRT. Say yes to unity for all races, for all genders. Well, both genders. I'm just saying. And for all religions, as Americans. It's not too late. Get involved. Thanks for tuning in. I'm the CommonSensei, and I'll see you next time on the I'm Just Sayin video podcast. Out.